The Interstellar Learning Center was famous across many star systems. Students from dozens of species came there to study science, culture, and history together. The campus was huge, filled with shining towers, floating walkways, and classrooms designed to support many different kinds of bodies and environments. Some halls were warm, some were cold, and others had special gravity settings. Among the thousands of students that arrived every year, humans were still considered unusual. They were not the strongest species, not the fastest, and not the most advanced in technology. Many alien students believed humans survived mostly because they were clever and cooperative. But there was also another quiet belief spreading among several species. Many thought humans feared pain. This belief did not come from insults or open hostility. It came from observation. Human medical systems were known for strong painkillers. Human doctors often spoke about pain management. Human entertainment sometimes showed characters complaining loudly when injured. To several alien cultures, this looked like proof that humans tried to avoid pain at all costs. One afternoon, a mixed-species biology class gathered inside a large circular lecture room. Transparent screens floated above the center platform, displaying images of different nervous systems. The day's topic was pain response and survival behavior across species. Professor Luma, a tall instructor with silver skin and calm, glowing eyes, activated the main display. Diagrams of human nerve pathways appeared next to those of other species. Pain, the professor began, is one of the most important survival signals in the universe. However, different species respond to it in very different ways. Several students nodded. Some species had extremely sensitive nerves, where even minor injuries could cause intense shock. Others barely felt pain at all, and relied more on visual injury detection. In some societies, the professor continued, pain is treated as something to eliminate immediately. In others, it is accepted as a natural part of life. A student in the front row raised a hand. Professor, is it correct that humans use chemical suppression in most medical procedures, even minor ones? Yes, Professor Luma answered. Humans have developed many forms of anesthesia. Another student spoke. Then it is accurate to say humans prefer to avoid pain whenever possible? Several students murmured in agreement. In the back row sat a human exchange student named Alex. Alex listened quietly, arms folded loosely, expression relaxed. The discussion did not seem to bother him. A third student turned slightly and glanced at Alex. Humans also make frequent verbal complaints about discomfort, correct? Temperature, muscle fatigue, small injuries? Some students laughed softly. Professor Luma responded carefully. Humans are expressive about discomfort, yes. However, that does not always indicate weakness. Cultural expression is not the same as biological limitation. Still, the idea had already settled in many minds. Humans avoided pain. Humans feared it more than other species. As the class continued, the discussion moved towards social behavior and psychological responses. During a short break, several students gathered near Alex's desk, curiosity clear on their faces. One of them asked, is it true humans often refuse medical treatment if pain is expected? Alex smiled slightly. Not really. Humans just prefer when doctors warn them first. Another student tilted their head. Would a human willingly experience pain without medical need? Alex thought for a moment. Yes. Quite often, actually. The small group exchanged puzzled looks. How? Someone asked. Well, Alex said casually. I have an appointment this evening to get a tattoo. Silence followed. A tattoo? One student repeated. That is the process where pigment is inserted under the skin using repeated needle penetration? That's correct, Alex replied. And this is not required for medical reasons? No. Is anesthesia provided? Alex shook his head. Usually not. Most people don't use it. The group stared at him, clearly confused. One student even checked their wrist device, as if verifying the translation. You are saying, another student said slowly, that humans voluntarily choose repeated needle injury for decoration? Alex laughed softly. When you say it like that, it sounds worse than it is. The bell tone signaled the end of the class session. Students began packing their materials, but the earlier conversation spread quickly through the room. By the time Alex reached the hallway, several more students had already heard the news. "You are really doing this today?" one asked. "Yes." "Without pain suppression?" "Yes." A few students exchanged worried looks. Others seemed deeply curious. Finally, one of them spoke. "May we observe the procedure?" "For educational purposes." Alex shrugged. "I don't mind." As the group walked across the wide campus paths toward the evening transport station, messages quietly passed among classmates. Word traveled faster than expected. By sunset, several alien students had already decided to attend. Many believed the same thing. The human would surely stop once the pain began. The tattoo studio was small compared to the large buildings on campus. It stood on a quiet street near the edge of the city, with soft lights glowing behind wide glass windows. Inside, the air smelled clean, with a faint hint of metal and disinfectant. The walls displayed colorful designs, symbols, animals, and images from many human cultures. When Alex entered, several alien students followed closely behind. They moved slowly, eyes wide, taking in every detail. For some of them, even the idea of a place built for controlled injury was unsettling. A human artist named Milo looked up from his station and smiled. "Evening, Alex. Ready?" "Yeah," Alex said calmly. "These are some classmates. They want to observe." Milo glanced at the group, then nodded. "No problem. Just stay behind the marked line." The alien students carefully positioned themselves near the wall. Some activated medical sensors on their wrist devices. Others adjusted visual filters to handle what they expected would be distressing. Alex sat down in the chair and rolled up his sleeve. His posture was relaxed, shoulders loose, breathing slow. Milo prepared the equipment with practiced movements. He cleaned the skin, placed the stencil, and turned on the tattoo machine. The sound filled the room immediately. A sharp, buzzing noise echoed off the walls. Several alien students flinched at once. "That sound," one whispered. "Is that normal?" "Yes," Milo replied casually. "You get used to it." Alex smiled slightly, but said nothing. The needle touched skin. From the alien point of view, it looked terrible. The needle moved fast, puncturing the surface again and again. Their medical displays flashed warnings. Pain indicators rose sharply. Alex inhaled slowly. He did not shout. He did not pull away. His fingers tightened slightly on the armrest, then relaxed again. "That should be extremely painful," one student whispered, eyes fixed on Alex's arm. "It is uncomfortable," Alex said honestly, "but it's manageable." The students watched closely as minutes passed. The needle continued its work, tracing lines beneath the skin. Drops of ink mixed with small amounts of blood, quickly wiped away by the artist. Alex's face showed focus, not fear. One student checked their display. His stress levels are elevated but stable. No shock response. Another looked confused. "Why is he not stopping?" Alex chuckled softly. "Because I chose this." The tattoo machine paused for a moment as Milo cleaned the area. "You want a break?" Milo asked. "I'm good," Alex replied. The alien students exchanged stunned looks. As the work continued, something unexpected happened. Alex began talking. He spoke about classes, about campus food, and about how long he had planned the design. His voice remained steady, even casual. Pain, it seemed, had not taken control of his thoughts. One student whispered, "In our culture, pain demands full attention." Alex heard and nodded slightly. For humans, pain is a signal, not always an order. The needle resumed. Time passed slowly. For the alien observers, every second felt long and heavy. For Alex, it passed with patience. At one point, a student had to look away, overwhelmed by the constant injury their senses told them was happening. Another reduced their visual input, unable to process it directly. Finally, the machine stopped. Milo leaned back. "All done." Alex exhaled and rolled his shoulder gently. "Looks great." The artist cleaned the area and covered it with a protective layer. The alien students waited, expecting delayed collapse or sudden weakness. Nothing happened. Alex stood up slowly, tested his arm, and smiled. "That's it," one student asked. "That's it," Alex confirmed. One of them stepped closer, studying the fresh tattoo carefully. It showed a simple design, Earth's outline with a small symbol of stars around it. "This will hurt later," Milo said. "Sore for a few days." Alex nodded. "Worth it." As they left the studio, the group was quiet. The city lights reflected off their thoughtful expressions. What they had witnessed did not match their beliefs. The human had not ignored pain. He had accepted it. And that difference stayed with them as they walked back toward campus, no longer certain that humans feared pain at all. The next morning, the campus felt different for the group of students who had visited the tattoo studio. Word had already spread through several departments. Many students had heard that a human willingly allowed repeated needle injury without anesthesia and showed no panic. Some thought the story was exaggerated. Others wanted proof. In the biology lecture hall, Professor Luma stood at the center platform as students discussed the previous evening in low voices. When Alex entered the room, several heads turned immediately. His sleeve was rolled down, but the protective covering on his arm was still visible. Professor Luma noticed the attention and spoke calmly. "It seems some of you witnessed an interesting cultural example last night." A few students nodded. The professor looked toward Alex. "Would you be willing to share your experience with the class?" Alex gave a small shrug. "Sure." He walked to the front and leaned lightly against the desk. The room grew quiet. One student raised a hand almost instantly. "Was the pain severe?" "It was noticeable," Alex replied. "Not unbearable." Another asked, "Why did you not use pain suppression?" "It was available." "Because I didn't need it," Alex answered. "And because part of the experience matters." The room filled with puzzled expressions. Professor Luma stepped closer. "Explain what you mean by that." Alex thought for a moment before speaking. "Humans don't like pain. We try to avoid injuries, just like any species. But we also learn early in life that pain is not always dangerous. Sometimes it's temporary. Sometimes it has meaning." Several students listened carefully. "In my case," Alex continued, "the tattoo is a personal symbol. It reminds me of home and certain memories. The short period of pain is part of that memory. It makes the result feel earned." A student in the second row spoke. "In many of our cultures, pain is treated as an emergency signal that must be removed immediately. Choosing it seems irrational." Alex smiled slightly. "For humans, pain is information. It tells us something is happening, but we decide what to do with that information. If the situation is safe, we can tolerate it." Another student looked at their data tablet. "Your vital signs showed stress, but no panic response. How did you maintain control?" "Training," Alex said. "And experience. Humans deal with small pains all the time: sports injuries, physical work, medical treatments. Over time, we learn breathing methods and mental focus to stay calm." Professor Luma nodded slowly. "So the human response is not absence of pain, but management of it." "Exactly," Alex replied. Later that day, several students gathered in the campus courtyard, continuing the discussion. Some admitted they had misunderstood human behavior. Others were still surprised that a species known for medical pain treatment could also willingly endure discomfort. Rel, one of the science students who had visited the studio, sat nearby reviewing the recorded sensor data from the procedure. "His stress levels were high," Rel said, "but extremely stable. No shock spikes. No loss of coordination." Another student added, "Our species would require full sedation for something similar." Alex, sitting on a bench beside them, overheard and smiled. Different evolution paths. Humans developed in an environment where small injuries happened often. Avoiding every bit of pain wasn't possible. Learning to function despite it became important. One student looked curious. "Does that mean humans enjoy pain?" Alex laughed. "No. Most humans definitely don't enjoy it, but we don't always fear it either." In the following weeks, Professor Luma updated the course material. A new section appeared in the lesson titled Human Pain Response and Behavioral Adaptation. It explained that humans combine two unusual traits: advanced pain management technology and strong psychological endurance when necessary. During the next lecture, the professor addressed the class. Earlier discussions suggested humans feared pain more than other species, Professor Loomis said. Recent observation shows a more accurate conclusion. Humans prefer to avoid unnecessary pain, but when pain has purpose, they often endure it with remarkable control. Several students glanced toward Alex, who sat quietly taking notes. That evening, Alex walked past a reflective window and briefly looked at the healed edge of the tattoo beneath the covering. It still ached slightly, a dull soreness that reminded him the skin was repairing itself. He didn't mind. Behind him, two students spoke quietly. "I used to think humans were fragile," one admitted. "Not fragile," the other replied. "Just expressive." Alex heard them and smiled as he continued down the corridor. Humans had never claimed to be immune to pain. They had simply learned something different over thousands of years of survival. Pain was a warning, but it was never the one in control.